So it's really only a minute part that is anything concrete that you can show people. Maybe that's what drives someone like me to like want to look into other things like psychic phenomena, to have that kind of experience, to know that something else is happening when you feel it is might be happening, or maybe you're naturally inclined to that. So you have more of a takeaway, because it is kind of disappointing to spend an entire night in a supposedly haunted location and come back with nothing,
Yeah,
right?
that's really disappointing. Or or you spend the night in a haunted location for a whole week and the only thing that you got was footsteps.
Mm, right.
One night, or 1.5 nights, you hear footsteps and that's it. And you get it on recording and everything. No pictures, no EVPs, just footsteps. But everybody else has gotten, oh, this person is so scared, and oh, this has happened, and blah blah blah, but this is what we got. It's almost like they know we're coming. And
Well, they do know. They know more. They have a better insight, I think, to a lot of stuff than we do.
and
No,
it's
I
like
think the
we're all
ideas of time are completely bent for
uh-huh.
those that are passed on. I think they can see the past of maybe the future. I think the idea of the timeline is just completely bent around. And that's why they can actually lend a lot of insight. If they're not trying to play a game with you or something like that, because that happens too, they can
Hmm.
actually give you some real insight into your life and maybe questions that you ask.
Oh yeah, I agree.
We're pretty limited. We live in this kind of linear timeline fashion with through
Well,
those senses, if that makes any sense at all. I know I'm
from
harping on senses, but
I would
uh,
say from what our human understanding is as linear, and I can tell you from spending um, night upon night. Actually, my max is probably almost 2.5 weeks, almost completely awake, um, because I have insomnia really bad. I don't really sleep at night. Uh, that it makes me a really good investigator though, because when people are ready to like, I need to go sit in the truck or whatever, have a coffee break, I'm still going because I can't sleep anyway. And it's like I'm raring to go and I'm looking around and I'm super like stoked for all this stuff to happen, and then you're like on this like 200-year-old horse ranch and there's been Civil War soldiers and all this other stuff, and your last investigator who's on a break right now just got the bejeebers scared out of him for some reason, and you're walking out there thinking you're going to get like the best evidence ever and you get nothing in 3 hours.
right, it happens. It absolutely
Ah,
happens.
what did you, Sarah? What'd you do? Uh, I petted the horses and walked
There are
around.
there are no guarantees, but being in
I,
tune with these kind of things in your day-to-day lives kind
right?
of takes some of that away. You don't necessarily always need to go on an investigation to have a paranormal experience.
Hmm.
And if this is something that sounds interesting to you, if somebody wants to explore or turn the life around, our guest tonight is a good person to talk to and learn from.
Definitely. Or I've gotten readings from her before that were just amazing. Um, and she does do these readings for money. They're not free. And it was worth every penny that I spent. I found out like with Mr. Werner's class, I found out a lot about myself. When I first spoke to the sorceress, I learned a lot about myself in my own personal environment that I wasn't aware of. And considering that I look at myself as somebody who is um, very aware of and very awake and present in my own life, that a lot of the stuff she said blew me away. Was like, oh wow, I really need to check into that, because I didn't know that about myself, and it was true. you
Right.
know
We actually started kind of on that same path of like getting a reading, finding out about her and then saying, well, I'll get a reading and let's see how that goes. And then that kind of blossomed into other things.
right.
And I did exactly that. You know, I don't forget how many years ago now I got a reading, and then next thing you know, I was signing up for classes, and I've been studying on and off for years. So um, it never gets old, you know.
Mm-mm.
Always something new to learn, and even the classes I've taken, say 5 years ago, are evolved now. You know, it's a different thing and a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it's true. And that's the thing, though, that even with Eric Werner's classes and Sorceress's classes, over time, you see that they have evolved, like their book writing and things like that. Is like, if you go side by side with the different books, I mean, as far as Sorceress is concerned, she's consistent. Everything, the one thing that I love about her books is that it's almost like you're in the room with her and she's telling you the story. You can almost hear the writing, hear the story, hear what you're learning in her voice, like she's talking to you. It is that
sure.
dead set. To understand, you'd have to like not speak English and be blind to not get it.
And be blind. Well, they do have Braille.
Well,
Braille
that
for
you know
Braille
what
for
I mean.
occult enthusiast.
Yeah, just in
I'm sure
time
it's
for
out there.
Valentine's Day.
Right?
Set
Right?
your occult heart on fire.
That's the kind of gift I like. I don't know.
Yes, yeah, me too.
Nothing wrong with that. Hit the
my
Amazon. You know, you
my
can't
bloody
lose.
Valentine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No pun intended.
Yeah. So I think, speaking of that, I
Hmm.
think some of the subjects that she broaches may seem shocking to some people. I think some people are naturally drawn to them, and other
Right.
people are maybe intrigued. You know,
Hmm.
when we talk about things like blood sorcery,
Hmm.
for example, right? That would throw a lot of people off, but it would also, people's ears might perk up a little bit and say, what does that mean? You know,
Hmm.
what's that about?
Right. Well, like as I described myself, is that I invite you to listen to what Sorceress has to say, what we have to say, like anything that Chris and Clarissa talk about. You don't have to take it for the good or the bad of it, but we do invite you to listen and maybe learn a little bit about what happens, what is done, because the guests are completely legitimate. We all of us do our homework really, really well, and either we already know the guests, work with the guests ourselves, and are fans of their books. Actually, students in this case, we actually both are students of her work. Um, but for all the
Correct.
shock and awe of all the you mentioned blood, and immediately people are eek. Oh my gosh. And
They're on.
it's like, no, please hear us out. Hear us out. You don't have to
Mm,
like it, but hear us out. Like, you know,
right,
listen,
right.
just
And it's a
listen a
natural
moment.
tendency because that's supposed to be on the inside, right? You're
Hmm.
not supposed to let that out. It's not supposed to, you know, leave the skin. You know, if you get a paper cut or something and there's something there, it's a little shocking every time you look, and maybe that shock is plays into to why it's so effective. It's a
Hmm.
little death. You know, every time you bleed, there are cells that die. There, it's part of you dies, and part of you is regenerating and rebirthing new cells.
Much
Just a
like the
thought. Just
like
a thought.
like Venom or Deadpool.
Right? Right. Yeah. Deadpool does it a lot better than I do.
I know, right?
I'd like to get that down. I need that Deadpool sorcery.
So you can go
What
full
magic
Winnie the
have you,
Pooh.
man? Hmm. Yeah.
Full Winnie
Yeah.
the Pooh magic.
Why not?
It's what happens when you meet the Juggernaut.
Piglet. He's saying, "Where are you taking me? Where are you taking me? You'll see when we get there, Piglet."
Quit asking so many questions, Piglet.
Asking questions will only make it harder for you and more painful. Yeah.
I do
Hmm.
like BLTs, Piglet.
See, we got off the fishing. We don't have to just talk about fishing.
No,
What's
We
with that
can
guy?
we can fish for other topics.
He slammed us in chat.
We
I
got
want to see some
abandoned.
paranormal. Really?
It's okay.
Man.
Oh, on an offshoot note, when I did go searching for a boat to get onto, I did find a boat.
You found a boat.
Yeah, I did. I found a boat to get on a Marco Island.
And what are you going to do there?
I already did it. I went on the boat and went out on the boat and came back from the boat and then went had some awesome Mexican food and then drove home and talked to you, I think. Yeah, I did.
Well, that's a good night.
It's like, oh, okay. You guys were in the chat for a second. It's like, okay, I answered you guys. It was Clarissa, you, Laura Lee, and I'm like, oh, okay. I was on my way home.
Damn, I love Mexican food. I do.
Me too. I love it, especially because I'm from Washington State. There is no. You would think because we're on the Gulf of Mexico that would be out of this world Mexican food. I have to drive 2.5 hours to get good Mexican food. Not kidding.
Come on.
Oh,
really?
Not kidding. Mm-hmm.
I would think it'd be just loaded with it.
Nope. I found another place. There's a place in just a little north of Punta Gorda that I go to, and then on the opposite end, I go past Marco Island and almost to the alley, and went to this place I think it's called Senor Tequila. But it was like
Senor Tequila.
Yeah. I think that's what it's called. But I had a chicken tostada and 2 Cadillac margaritas. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good time. I like my tequila.
I like my tequila too. I do. I was just taking a look at the chat room. Let's see if we've annoyed anyone else.
All right. And on that note, Chris, we do have to go to another break. So thank you guys for sticking in and listening and chatting here with Hidden World. And this is WBHM-DB.com radio for the paranormal experience. So we will catch you here momentarily. The hour is 9:42, about to be 9:43. Thank you.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Well, thank you for listening to Hidden World here with Chris Carr, and usually